You've tried clean eating, brutal workouts, and calorie math, yet your belly fat still refuses to leave. It stays there confidently, acting like it signed a lifelong lease on your waistline. And no, it's not because you're lazy, unmotivated, unless your sleepwalking alter ego is out here doing mukbangs without permission. The truth is far more scientific and honestly much more irritating. Your belly fat isn't ordinary fat. It's visceral fat, hiding deep inside your abdomen. Visceral fat acts like a biological bunker built for ancient emergencies your body still imagines. It protects itself aggressively because your system thinks the world is constantly dangerous. Stress spikes, cravings hit, and unstable glucose only confirm that false alarm internally. That's why visceral fat behaves like a high-security vault with reinforced hormonal locks. It clamps down the moment your hormones show even the slightest instability. Cortisol is the first guard protecting that vault every time you feel stressed. When cortisol rises, belly fat becomes stubborn, guarded, and nearly impossible to touch. Your calorie deficit simply doesn't matter when cortisol rewrites the metabolic rules. Your brain thinks you're escaping danger, not trying to fit into your old genes. Insulin becomes the second guard, controlling whether your body stores or burns energy. Every snack, sip, or mindless bite triggers insulin to lock fat away instantly. Insulin's biological job is storing energy, meaning it turns off fat burning immediately. High insulin becomes a locked metabolic door and your body can't walk through. And that's why calorie restriction alone never solves stubborn belly fat for anyone. Hormones outrank math every single time, whether you like it or not. This also explains why crunches fail so dramatically when targeting belly fat. Crunches only train the muscle under the fat, not the fat itself sitting above it. You build stronger abs, but the fat stays secured like it's glued in place. Cardio doesn't help either when insulin remains elevated throughout your entire day. Cardio burns calories, but visceral fat stays untouched when glycogen takes priority. You can jog for hours and still keep the exact same fat stored tightly. Calorie counting fails because your body doesn't follow apps, charts, or motivational quotes. Your biology listens to hormones, not colorful infographics about discipline. Eat less, move more. Sounds logical, but collapses under hormonal resistance instantly. The real solution begins inside your cells, not inside your calorie tracker. That's where fasting quietly changes everything your metabolism struggles with. Fasting isn't magic. It's hormone engineering working in your favor. When you fast, insulin finally steps aside and stops blocking fat access. That drop in insulin becomes your body's official green light to burn stored fat. And visceral fat becomes the first target because it's biologically dangerous to keep. Your body eliminates it for survival reasons long before aesthetic reasons. When insulin stays low long enough, mitochondria shift into full fat-burning mode automatically. They switch fuel sources like upgrading your system to a faster energy network. This metabolic switch unlocks fat cells that were previously fully protected. But fasting works only when executed cleanly, with real biochemical precision. Clean fasting means absolutely 0 calories during your fasting window. Black coffee and tea are fine, but creamers or sweeteners instantly spike insulin. Even tiny calories activate insulin and stop fat burning right on the spot. Treat fasting like a contract. Break it, and your clock resets from 0 again. Now let's talk about the 3 mistakes that sabotage most people unknowingly. The first mistake is keeping an eating window far too long to activate fat burning. Fat burning starts around 12 to 14 hours into a fast, not earlier. If you graze food for 10 or 12 hours, you never reach the fat burning stage. It's like restarting a movie every few minutes and never reaching the climax. Mistake 2 is fasting cheating, which happens more often than people admit. A splash of milk, a latte, or a tiny bite still raises insulin completely. Even minimal calories interrupt fasting and shut down the entire fat-burning process. A clean fast produces consistent progress. A messy fast produces stuck belly fat. The third mistake involves ignoring sleep and stress, your hidden metabolic enemies. Poor sleep elevates cortisol before you even begin your day. High cortisol blocks fat burning no matter how perfect your fasting window is. Stress tells your body to save belly fat like it's critical emergency storage. This is why some people fast properly, yet lose absolutely nothing for months. You cannot outfast chronic stress because cortisol always wins the battle. Controlling cortisol becomes essential for unlocking deeply stored belly fat. Surprisingly, the easiest solutions don't require dieting or heavy gym routines. Sleeping 7 to 8 hours helps your hormones stabilize naturally. Walking 10 to 15 minutes after meals improves glucose control effectively. Reducing late-night screen time calms your nervous system and lowers cortisol. Small lifestyle shifts influence cortisol more strongly than motivation or willpower. When cortisol drops and insulin lowers, your body finally opens the fat vault.
Suddenly, fat burning becomes possible after months or years of frustration.
This is the moment your transformation begins making real sense biologically. Belly fat loses its protection the moment its two hormonal guards step aside. Visceral fat melts first because your body treats it as an internal health threat. Your system stops defending it and prioritizes eliminating it quickly. When hormones align, fat loss becomes smooth, predictable, and far less stressful. And yes, this is endocrinology, not a trending fitness myth. Fasting simply unlocks the metabolic vault you've been fighting for years. When insulin stays consistently low, your body switches to burning stored fat. Your energy stabilizes because you finally burn clean and efficient fuel. Your cravings disappear as insulin stops jerking your glucose around constantly. Your metabolism becomes proactive instead of reactive for the first time ever. You stop feeling cursed by belly fat and start understanding the science behind it. Your body stops resisting you and begins cooperating fully with your goals. But remember, fasting only becomes powerful when cortisol remains controlled daily. High cortisol can override fasting results even when insulin stays low. Stress locks away fat, even if everything else is perfect on paper. That's why lowering stress becomes the backbone of sustainable fat loss. When cortisol drops, previously stubborn fat suddenly becomes accessible for burning. This shift feels like your metabolism is waking up after years of sleeping. Results accelerate because your hormones stop contradicting each other. You stop fighting biology and begin working seamlessly with it. The difference becomes obvious even through small daily improvements. Fat burning becomes something your body wants to do, not something you force. This alignment ends years of frustration disguised as failed dieting attempts. You start understanding belly fat not as a flaw, but as hormonal feedback.
Your body was protecting you, not punishing you this entire time.
Once that protection becomes unnecessary, the fat finally begins to disappear. Hormones dictate fat loss. But your habits fully dictate hormone behavior. You fight insulin through strategic fasting, done properly. You fight cortisol through rest, calm, and genuine lifestyle balance. When both decrease together, visceral fat dissolves faster than expected. Your belly fat loses its evolutionary advantage almost instantly. This is when transformation becomes sustainable and not temporary. You stop cycling between motivation, burnout, and frustration every month. Fat loss becomes a system you control rather than a battle you suffer. Your metabolism finally works with you instead of constantly against you. You regain energy, clarity, and metabolic flexibility as hormones cooperate. Your confidence rises because the process finally makes practical scientific sense.
Your body was never broken. It was simply running outdated survival software.
Fasting updates that software by improving insulin sensitivity from the inside out. Stress control stabilizes cortisol, so your system stops panicking unnecessarily. Together, they create the hormonal alignment required for real fat-burning success. This becomes the foundation of predictable and sustainable belly fat reduction. Fix your hormones, and everything else becomes surprisingly straightforward. Support your biology, and it will finally support your goals in return. Belly fat stops being a mystery once the science becomes clear and actionable. You reset the system, and the system finally responds the way it should. Your body always had the ability to change. It simply needed the right conditions. And now that you know the truth, your belly fat never stood a chance.